Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Now, today's video, I wanted to talk about the awful silence so far from Warner Brothers games. And this is something that, we kind of expected. Remember when the leakers talked about, some things about this so-called Batman game, whether it's Arkham Legacy, whether the name is Arkham something, it seemed like they were alluding to the fact that this thing was going to be teased over a long period of time. In fact, the Twitter user whose name is Comics Kid, he mentioned, I think it's Casey Walsh, that's his name, but at Comics Kid is his Twitter handle. He mentioned that this game is going to be primarily next gen, and this is something that he's seen as a journalist, as somebody who probably has some, I would say, eyesight to what is going on, or he's got his ears to the ground. And he said that a lot of players are going to be very surprised by what's going to happen. And he said, it seems like they're just going to put these teases all over the place and just kind of lay them down. So I guess one of the reasons we haven't heard anything is I think we probably got our tease for the time being. I don't think we're going to be seeing much. Even though we see one this month, it may not turn to something that, we're going to be getting any conversation or any communication about this. I think for, specific reasons, Warner Brothers Montreal has decided to, or Warner Brothers Games has decided to not, designate or provide a community manager for the community at all, so that we don't start looking at every single thing they tweet. So if they tweet like, oh, candy wrapper on the floor, we go, oh, it's confirmation of something. I think that speculation doesn't really help anybody. But at the same time, it's a little strange to have to wait for all this stuff to come into play, because the enthusiasm that was generated by the leaks or by the reveals, let's not even say leaks, these were reveals that were put up there, Project Redacted. It seemed like that was going to kind of, spur Warner Brothers Games to continue to add more things to the play of the community to get to see. But so far, we haven't heard anything. Now, I guess one of the things that we are looking forward to is, potentially secret projects that Warner Brothers Games may be working on. And for these kinds of games, you don't really pay attention to a lot of those studios. So if you look at one of Warner Brothers Studios called Avalanche Studios, they're the ones that actually made the Mad Max game. Now, this particular game was released in 2015, and in that same, window, they were releasing a lot of other games. So I think what Warner Brothers is trying to do is trying to use their main strategy the way they did in the last generation. The way they did that in the last generation was they front-loaded a bunch of their releases right off the bat. If you look at Warner Brothers Games releases for this current generation, you will see that in the very first 4 years, Warner Brothers had already brought out like a bunch of games. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, they brought out Batman Arkham Knight in 2015. They brought out Mad Max in 2015 as well. They also went ahead and did Middle Earth, Shadow of War, just 2 years later. And if you just kind of like go and say, okay, what was the schedule like, you're gonna find out that there were so many so many games that were released by this particular publishing company that it was kind of strange to see how well they timed everything. I mean, 2017, 2015, 2000, those 2 years, they kind of pulled out a whole bunch of games and put it out there for the community. And then there were their Lego games that they kept bringing out here and there. But largely, I think they do have a plan to kind of launch the next generation with a series of their games. So what I think is, so far, they've just been cooking up a whole bunch of stuff in the studios, and very soon we're going to not just get one announcement, we're going to get multiple announcements from different Warner Brothers Games studios almost within the first few years of this console generation. Now, what sense does it make for them to do this? Well, they're able to push their games out with these consoles. They're able to put games on the shelves where people are actually already buying, the new console, and they put their games out there, and so they can get the very first part of the market share. There's a saying that says, the early dog gets the bone, or the early bird gets the worm. And I think that is exactly Warner Brothers' strategy. They want to get in there, get their share of the market, and then over the course of the generation, just sell copies on sale, Christmas sale, sale, Steam sale, all that stuff. I think that just continues to roll in the cash over time, and then they can do maybe remasters of old games that people may want to see, just the way they did remasters of the Batman games. I don't think it's out of the question, because those actually generate a lot more sales. If you haven't paid attention, the Arkham collections did generate a lot of sales. So the silence that we're hearing, I think, is building up to a marketing strategy that not only affects a Batman game, or this so-called Batman game. I think there are other franchises and IPs that, you know, this company wants to really leverage. And right now, they're just making sure that they don't say anything until things are ready to go. But I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, if they follow their marketing strategy from the beginning of the first generation, oh, I forgot to mention Mortal Kombat X, which will put us at a total of about 4 major games that they released pretty much in the very first, 3 to 4 to 5 years of the console generation. I mean, up front, they already threw down like 2, and then in like the very next 2 years, they threw down another 2, and then they kept going that way. So we're going to see something soon, but I don't think it's just going to be Batman centered. I think we have to look at it from an overall strategy in order for it to make sense. So let me hear what you think in the comment section. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Thank you for engaging the content. If you enjoyed it, leave a subscribe, leave a like, and I would appreciate it so much. So thank you once again for your time and audience, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.